Hi there. I want to talk about what I think is a really important topic today, particularly if your chronic fatigue syndrome is long term. And that is chronic fatigue and fear. Is fear preventing your full recovery? If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I've been trialling the Curable app, which uses brain retraining to help to cure people with chronic pain, to see if that has benefits for people with chronic fatigue syndrome. I'll be fully reviewing this app next month, but there is something that came up for me recently on this app that I think is worth discussing now, as I think it will be relevant to many people. Okay, so the dog has joined me. I've had chronic fatigue syndrome for over 20 years, and while over that time I have used various natural strategies to get to a point where I am mostly recovered, I also know that while I'm able to function normally day to day, I still have crashes and setbacks, and I've not yet been quite able to break through that barrier to full recovery. So why is that? What I have recently realised is this. First of all, when you're initially diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, you learn to pace yourself and check in with yourself every day to see how your body is and whether you need to take it easy, rest, and perhaps even cancel any appointments you have for that day. That is all well and good. We need to learn body awareness so we don't overdo things and cause a fatigue crash. However, what then tends to happen is that we start to get anxious about upcoming events. We might start to develop a fear of movement or exercise because we know in the past it's resulted in a crash. When we get invited somewhere, our first emotional response might be anxiety about whether we'll be able to go or whether we can cope, rather than the joyful excitement of the anticipation of a day or night out with friends. And over time, this fear becomes habitual. Even when you might be feeling better, you may experience underlying fear every time you contemplate an event, an outing, or even just walking the dog. So, isn't that a natural response, you might ask? Well, yes, it is. Of course it is. There's no judgment or blame here. But the trouble with fear is that it is one of those emotions that will create further chronic fatigue symptoms and therefore perpetuate your condition. And the longer you've had CFS, the more ingrained the habit of fear becomes. Yeah. Now, I have to admit that I have recognised this in myself. For example, even though generally I feel okay, when I'm arranging to visit my friend in Oxford, which is a 45-minute drive, my first emotions are not, oh goody, I'm going to see my friend, but oh dear, I hope I feel okay on the day. Or if my sister-in-law invites me over to lunch, my first response is anxiety rather than delight. And then the fear and anxiety are the things that then are creating any symptoms around those days. And sometimes going out can be a bit of an effort. The interesting thing is that afterwards, when I get home, I often feel fine when there's no fear because the event is now in the past. Does any of this resonate with any of you? If so, then that's actually a good thing, because once you recognise this in yourself, you then become able to do something about it. As with any habit, the first step is to notice when you're doing it. And then as soon as you recognise that fear response, you can take action to change your mindset. You want to get down, sweetie? So, for example, now I've realised this about myself, I'm starting to consciously say to myself, hooray, I'm going to see my friend tomorrow, and really celebrate that instead of worrying about whether I'll be okay. And you can find all kinds of different ways to change that fear mindset when you notice it. You can do something silly like a little song or a dance, or just something that makes you feel positive instead of negative. So then you gradually change that fear habit into a positive habit that retrains the brain to expect something good. And you do need to be patient with this. The longer habits have taken to get into, the longer they will take to get out of. So it's important to be patient with yourself. Give this time and see what changes this will make to your symptoms. Of course, you still need to look after yourself. It doesn't mean you should ignore it when you are feeling really ill. But the more you stop fearing future events, I believe, the more you'll be able to go out and enjoy life again. So if you, like me, have had CFS for quite a while and are feeling frustrated that while you seem to be doing all the right things, you're just not recovering quite as fully as you would like, then have a real look at whether you have got stuck into a habit of fear and start to consciously turn that around. I'll be doing the same, and I'll let you know how it's working for me in a future video. I hope this has been really helpful for you. Please do comment below if this really resonates with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please subscribe for updates, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.